Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. What? Are we not live?
It works.
Are we live?
No,
Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live?
No, we're live. It's just live right there.
Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. I'm having a deja vu, like I've somehow been here before. We know y'all don't watch our wonderful show for our technology. We know you watch for the amazing content. So we're going to jump in because this hour is going to go by super, super fast. I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with Jim Stewartson, High Fidelity. These are my comrades in arms in the invisible war that we fight every day. Roger Stone fucked up. That's right. Good job, Hi-Fi. So some of you have watched our latest episode, our full-length episode, number EP69, with Zarina Zabriskie reporting from Kherson, one of two reporters reporting from that battered city. We're going to be showing you some highlights of that. I'm very disappointed that only 200 people have taken the time to watch that episode. I'd like more people to actually know what's happening in Ukraine from a reporter who's been covering the war since the very beginning. Quite frankly, when I say beginning, I'm talking 2014. So that's going to be part of what we do. Part of what we do every Thursday is we recap our latest content, our latest interview. But there's so much that I want to talk to you guys about. So many things on my mind. I don't want to, you guys start wherever you want to start, because if not, I will just keep firing away.
I'm going to start right here.
Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start?
Well, I'd like to start with the fact that Elon Musk is a fucking problem.
Which Hi-Fi has been saying for years, and which people still seem to be either covering for or really naive about. Hi-Fi, what are you talking about in particular?
Well, now it appears the SEC is probing Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah.
Because that South African apartheid son of a bitch, neo-Nazi, him and his whole crew, as a matter of fact. I mean, you look at all the billionaires they have together, and they're just David Sachs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
That was a bit early for a Peter Thiel moment, but go on.
I disagree.
Do go on. Okay.
I disagree. I think you got to mix it up. You got to. Otherwise, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, we're gonna wait for the second half of the Peter Thiel moment." Also, okay. By the way, the SEC.
Keep on the toes, man.
What?
Keep on the toes.
I don't know what you're saying.
Jim?
The SEC sued Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because Elon Musk did not show up.
Yeah.
When he was subpoenaed.
Yeah.
So apparently the SEC has been looking into him for some time.
Yeah.
He knew that he was subpoenaed to come into court, and he didn't do that, and so they sued his ass. And that is good. That
Yeah.
They should not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. So, okay, so while we're on that subject, I have been retweeting the hell out of my original report from last year on Musk and what was going to happen under his watch. It continues to happen. We now don't get headlines when we are reporting news and reporting important information. And I can't believe how many members of the media said, oh, he's either dumb or irresponsible. It's like, do they still not get what is going on, that this is an attack on our communications and that he is clearly a general for the wrong side? It's like they're still covering up for him. And it's absolutely madness. And we here have been reporting on what was going to happen for a couple of years. And the fact that it just gets worse and worse and worse every single day is a direct attack on our democracy and our ability to communicate. It's a direct attack on experts and expertise, government, all the things that Twitter could at least be relied upon when there were crises. Yes, Hi-Fi.
And it's not just that billionaire or his billionaire friends from South Africa. No, we have billionaires all over the freaking country who are causing problems. Like in Texas right now, we got these two oil tycoon billionaires, and they're doing everything in their power to gut the public educational system in Texas.
Well, it wasn't that long ago.
Texas in,
it wasn't that long ago that we didn't even have billionaires. And one of the themes that I've been writing about is that we have been a bit too eager to embrace the myths of the billionaires. We've been too eager to embrace the myths of these masters of the universe. And I'm finding out more and more of these billionaires have really nefarious ties to the Kremlin. They have, they have been using their money to take out our democracy in fealty to foreign enemy states. And I do hope that this awareness grows. And one of the reports I did recently on Rudy Giuliani showed that he was never a hero, that it was always a myth. And I actually got a wow, just wow, out of retired IRS criminal investigator Martin Scheel when I sent him the headline from the Daily Beast that the IRS has placed a lien on Rudy Giuliani's 4.5 million Palm Beach penthouse located just 3 miles away from Donald Jessica Trump's Mar-a-Lago. So that is, apparently he has over $550,000 in unpaid taxes. So lien was, and this is after he has to sell his apartment. So this man is going down in flames, and yet he still gets in front of a camera and makes some noise about, suing Joe Biden. And wow, just wow is right. And I have something else that I would like to say about Joe Biden, and that is that we do not see enough reports on Joe Biden and the things that he is doing. And I'm very happy to report that there was actually something written about him recently, Franklin 4. I retweeted it. I'm going to go ahead and retweet it again. But it shows that the Western world turns to him, according to a new book by Franklin 4. He's not just the president of the US, he's the West father figure whom foreign leaders call to and ask for advice. And you know why? Because he's a decent fucking man, unlike Donald Jessica Trump, who is beginning to look more and more like, one of the guys in Judgment at Nuremberg, Goering, I would say. So anyway, Jim, I'm going on enough. What's on your mind?
Oh, I don't know. For me, I've been doing. I had a little bit of a change of strategy, and I'm currently, in battle with, some really nasty characters out there.
Yeah.
Because look, for years now, 5 years, or really since 2016, there's been an effort to cover up for a whole bunch of crimes. Those crimes include the theft of the 2016 election with the Russian government, the origin of QAnon, the fact that the Russians are currently infiltrating, the government, media, etc., all across the board. And, for 3 years, I've been, I think, doing some fairly decent work at showing exactly what's going on right now. But those efforts have been, I've had to play an enormous amount of defense. So when you're in information war, at least for me, when I'm thinking about it, it's about minimizing damage, right? It's about, oh, okay, let's see how we can cordon things off, how we can, but once you start getting to a certain point, that's no longer viable and it's no longer necessary because these people are just telling on themselves. They're just telling what they are, right? Like, and I'm not complaining here, but literally, I write about Flynn and Russia and psyops and shit like that, right? But there's a group of people who've been literally devoted to stopping me from talking about those things and stopping this podcast. And once you start to get to a certain level of severity in terms of what's happening in the country, the literal invasion of our population by a foreign enemy nation state and American traitors, you start to have to just call people what they are. I really don't give a shit about any of these fucking people. I've never met any of them. I don't know them. They've simply chosen me for some particular reason to come after. And so I made a public announcement on Twitter, and I will make it right here on my podcast. If you come for me or my friends, you will pay a price for that. Not a threat. It's just imposing a cost for what you do. If you cause damage to me or my friends, podcast, or any of that, I will expose you publicly as loud as I can. And I do not give a shit what you say about me. Because the one thing about having done this for 38 fucking months is I have a flame retardant suit. I do not give a shit. And the other thing is I have 38 months of receipts all saved up just for you. So, just letting you know, saying it's super calm. I'm not mad. I'm just being super clear that it's time at this point for the people who want to save not just America, but the concept of liberal democracy, the concept of empathy, the concept of giving a fucking shit about anybody but yourself. I am going to be fighting for that. If you get in my fucking way, and you get in my friend's way, I am going to impose a cost. So that's all. That's one thing that has been on my mind that I felt like I just needed to say.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Well, all I want to say is I appreciate you saying that because we have been on defense too long. Go on offense, Jim. We have democracy and all the good things on our side, and I don't know what they're all thinking, but what a terrible life. Yes, hi-fi.
In my defense, I've always been offensive. Sorry.
Charmed.
But I would like to say that I noticed some of our appearing as female trolls were commenting on how nice my beard was, and I'd like to let them know that for a small fee, I'll allow you to touch it. So for all our trolls out there.
All right, that is just a lovely offer. Back to news that matters. Back to news that matters. What Jim was just saying is really important. It's like we are so close to 2024. We're there, and what do we have right now? Chaos, absolute. We basically have a insurrection caucus just trying to please Putin and the Kremlin and weakening us on the world stage. I just read another headline about Donald Trump's going to be Speaker of the House. It's like we are at war. We have been fighting an invisible war. It's becoming much less invisible. It's tied to the war that's happening in Ukraine, which we're going to be talking about. we have a lot, you know, a lot to do between now and 2024, and we must start. One thing I do want to talk about is the smoke and mirrors of Donald Jessica Trump. We had friends out protesting in New York this week in front of you know, court appearances, and they said that there were only 2 Trump supporters there when they were protesting, which is why they ended up getting, those who oppose him ended up getting so much coverage. Do we have that little clip from our friend Julie Delorier, who was on our show just last week? She's with Truth Tuesdays and Truth Over Fox. You're muted, bro.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna have to find it. Keep talking. I know I have it somewhere.
Yeah, I sent it to you. I sent it to you via text. It's really short, but the bottom line, it's our friends in the streets protesting. And when I asked Julie about it later, she's like, "You're not going to believe this, but there were only 2 people there to support Trump." And why that matters is because we have a media that has been central to the fascist creep, that has been normalizing the abnormal, that has been engaging in myth making, that has been stoking the myth of the self-made billionaire, which was never true. All of that is unreality. And so the reality is that, as we've been saying for quite some time, this is sort of the Oz moment. Peel back the curtain, and what you have is somebody who is still trying to play to the television and create myths. And I think that the gag order was very important that the judge in New York imposed. And Marty believes that with that judge, a star is born. And maybe it's because he quotes the Marx Brothers, and Marty really likes the Marx Brothers. But what do you guys think about how the judge in New York is doing?
I like the order he just put out. That, you know, Marty said it was a standard order, but Trump is going to have to reveal every lender, every mutual owner, everything about all of his companies. And I think finally, hopefully, the bubble myth of he's a self-made billionaire, whatever, is going to pop when people see. I mean, the whole thing's a house of cards, and it's going to come tumbling down. I hope.
Well, I will say the moment he is seen without his wig in bad lighting, it's completely over for him. There's no question about it. They want the myth, and the myth is evaporating in front of everybody's eyes. I just resent you that clip if you want.
The 500.
All the time. Trump lies all the time. Trump lies all the time. Trump lies.
Glenn Kirshner. I like Glenn's stuff. He's good.
Letitia James is the first person to actually prosecute Trump for his criminality. Trump is a criminal. New Yorkers know it. Americans need to know it. Trump cannot be president again in 2024, and we will do everything we can to bring and hold Trump accountable. Trump lies all the time. Trump lies all the time. Trump lies all the time. Trump.
There she is. I just wanted everyone see she was on our show. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's Julie right there holding up the prison. She's actually the one holding up the Trump in prison.
Trump in the prison bars, yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, you had something to say about the 500. Come back up.
Yeah, he's got 500 LLCs and other businesses. There's a new law apparently in New York that just passed recently that is the, you know, something disclosure law that requires this. So I believe Marty is correct that it is required, but I think it's actually new. And yeah, you know, it's always a question. You know, remember when that amazing New York Times piece came out about how, you know, he was full of shit, and I can't remember Susan's last name from the New York Times, brilliant reporter, one of the only good ones left, who did this enormous 11,000 word spread about, you know, all the ways that he was completely corrupt. And, you know, nobody really gave a shit. And the reason is because it's baked in, right? Like our side already knows that he's, you know, a fucking traitor and a fraud and all those things. And the other side, it basically doesn't matter, you know, what is said, you know, by anyone else, which is why what Julian people are doing by directly interfering with Fox's operate in a legal way, always legal, but, you know, doing citizen action to, you know, embarrass them, to interrupt their little news segments, to get in their face when they're, you know, trying to cozy up to fascists or whatever through the window, you know, like they just fuck with them. And, you know, when you're dealing with an insurgency, a guerrilla warfare, you know, operation, basically, you gotta fight back with guerrilla warfare. And she and her team are doing exactly the right thing and focusing on the source of the brainwashing. And Julie, by the way, if you haven't seen it, absolutely spot on about, you know, what this is. That, you know, these people are brainwashed, that this is propaganda that, you know, they, you know, is involuntarily imprinted in their brains, right? And so, you know, she's doing exactly the right thing by going after the source of it and, you know, being a constant, you know, engine for, you know, people to remember it's not normal. No. It's not normal that he lies and lies and, you know, all of the things that they say that we instinctively saying it in front of Fox, saying it in front of their Trump's fans, and then having them not show up. You know, you know, I could not admire Julie and what they're doing anymore. It's not like they're going to change anybody's mind, right? But they're getting their, you know, friction in the wheels of, you know, a psychological war machine.
Yes.
And that's some fucking Antifa shit right there.
That's it. That's right. As Jim says, MAGA needs to stand for make anti-fascism great again. Make anti-fascists great again. Specifically, what we're talking about is Judge Engoron in Trump's New York fraud case, hitting Trump and his kids with a devastating order that will expose them. I'm reading Tom Joseph's tweet right now. They have to disclose third-party co-owners, equity partners, and lenders for all of their businesses, including the 500 LLCs. And this is believed to the impact will be to expose his true lack of ownership in Trump org. As we all know, it's marketing, smoke and mirrors. He often just licenses out his name. So this myth of the billionaire, again, a theme that I am writing much about these days, is simply that we were too eager to believe NBC, which knew they were delivering a lie to us, which knew that the lie that they were delivering to us also gave him the opportunity to put fraudulent companies in front of America, like the Ponzi scheme ACN, which is still being sued, and Trump and his adult children are still being sued. His 3 oldest children still being sued over this because people invested their life savings in a video phone company at the birth of, like, you know, Skype. And, you know, it was madness. And these people lost everything. It's Trump University. It's everything all over again. It's the same thing. And NBC has not been held accountable. And Les Moonves has not been held accountable, you know, head of CBS, when he says, oh, Trump campaign may not be good for America, but it's damn good for CBS. Well, fuck you, Les Moonves. You know, fuck you. Fuck all of you. You delivered us fascism, you know, and we're taking our country back. So I don't know. Sorry about that. I get heated when we talk
Well,
about the
what was
media.
it? Was it Ruth Ben-Ghiat or Jason Stanley who was telling us about how corporations think fascism is good for them?
That's Jason Stanley. Yeah, they
Yeah,
think big business. Yes.
I mean, corporations are more or less a form of fascism. Capitalism is supposed to be, regulated, a regulated engine of competition. And none of that happens. But speaking of fake billionaires, I wanted to bring up one that may have been a billionaire at one point recently, but is not a billionaire and is so not a billionaire that all his lawyers are quitting because he can't pay them. That man's name is Mike Lindell.
Wow.
My fascist, my pillow guy is out. He's out of money. The money is gone. It's like, boop. So last week, on some podcast that Mike Flynn was on, they announced that the credit card Amex had taken 90% of Mike Lindell's credit away. And they claimed that this meant that his entire operation was grinding to a halt, which means Mike Lindell was running his entire business on his fucking Amex card.
Wow.
Anyway, so that was going on. I was like, that doesn't sound good. And then, today, two sets of lawyers were like, this fucking guy can't pay anything. I'm out. And so Mike Lindell, former pillow billionaire, lots and lots, maybe too many discount codes. I don't know, maybe too many. I don't know what happened here, but he has no money, and he's going to basically end up where he was before he had the pillow idea.
He was another tax cheat. He was another frickin', corrupt.
I don't know that he was a tax cheat or corrupt. I don't know.
He was. I researched him early on. I'm like, who's this guy? I'm like, oh, all you got to do is type in their name and, go ahead.
Yeah, whatever. Mike, none of that really matters. The point here is that everything Flynn touches dies. All of them, right? Think about it. You got Patrick Byrne, who is now, we don't know actually, because he's flying all over the world is trying to escape something, and has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Flynn's propaganda. Threw off $500,000 to J6 just off the top of his head, like, yeah, I'll give you $500,000. These people, Kanye West, another guy who ran into this group of psychopaths, had lots of money, and all of a sudden turned, like, the rapper guy turned into a Nazi, right? What fucking happened? He lost his Nike, he lost all his shit, he lost all his whole thing because who fucking wants to do business with a Nazi?
Wow.
Well, who did that? How'd that happen? Well, Kanye went to Trump Tower, and then he got a ranch near Eric Prince's in Wyoming. So guess what happened to fucking Kanye West? So look, Patrick Byrne bangs Butina, and he was sketchy before that, but went absolutely bonkers and started funding Mike Flynn's propaganda immediately in 2019. Has been losing his shit ever since. Mike Flynn ran into Mike Lindell with Trump. I see you, high five. Give me a sec. And he, what happens to Mike Lindell? All of a sudden, Mike Lindell is running, like, putting $5 million that he apparently had to put on his Amex card down on betting people that his PCAPs were real or whatever. Or he had to pay that. He had to pay somebody $5 million. He was like, no, that doesn't work like that. it's a process where they find somebody that they want for whatever reason.
Yeah.
What do you think the reasons were for Patrick Byrd and
Mice.
I wonder why they spend so much fucking time on them. How about Kanye? Well, there's probably two reasons. One, money. Two, they wanted to turn the black guy into a Nazi.
Wow.
So they target these people and start working on them. Start, feeding them bullshit. Start inviting them to parties. Start, there's a whole raft of ways that they do it. But, we're slowly being eaten alive, right? Like these guys are already weird and and narcissistic. To get billions of dollars, you have to be in the first place, right? But we're just letting these people run around picking off others, squeezing them for everything they have, whether it's all of my pillow money or the lives of Ashley Babbitt and the cops at J6. They squeeze you of your life and your value. They fucking leave you dead on the side of the road. They don't give a shit.
Well, that's
When I say everything, everything Flynn touches dies. Well, we've seen that in at a relatively small scale, but my concern is that that is not going to last forever if we continue to allow this shit to happen.
Thank you for that, Jim. I will say that in watching the tragedy of what is just like, my series is called American Monster that I write on these guys at Betty Dangerous, but it could also be called American Tragedy. I've said that before, but when I look at Rudy Giuliani, I can't help but think about Trump's previous personal lawyer, one of them, Roy Cohn. Trump, once they get disgraced and disbarred, Trump will have nothing to do with them. Rudy Giuliani, disgraced, law license suspended, now tax liens, selling everything, being probed for his alcoholism, and, being probed for his role in the Ukraine disinformation. And, this guy is going to be just on his own, and he will be lucky if he lives through this, because it's not looking good for Rudy. Yes, high five.
When Jim started his rant 4 minutes ago, he mentioned two words I want to talk about: lawyers and broke motherfuckers. And the reason I want to talk about these people is because some of the crew brought to light that Jesse Binall is shilling for Mike Roman, indicted in the Georgia case. Like, what the hell is going on here? That doesn't and I'd like to point out, where does that link go? Give, send, go.
Yeah, of course it does. But here's the thing. So it's not only Jesse, but it's Mike Flynn is pushing it as well. But let's think. Here's the thing. Mike Roman is reported to be seriously considering cooperating. Right? What is one of the reasons you would do that? Well, financial pressure. Right? You got all these fucking lawyers, and you don't have no idea if you're gonna win because you're fucking guilty, right? So that's one of the things that prosecutors rely on. So what happens? White Knight, Mike Flynn, and who is unindicted co-conspirator number 20, and Jesse Binall, who is listed as a witness in that case. Wait a second. How is it that somebody who's the lawyer of an unindicted co-conspirator, who's on the witness list, who's being, by the way, investigated by Jack Smith in Nevada for fake electors fraud, what the fuck is this guy doing paying a potential cooperator to not cooperate. I mean, Mike Flynn, it's the Flynn family, $1,000, and then like $1,000 anonymous, and then it's, it's just thousands of dollars being thrown at this asshat. I will point out one other thing. Mike Flynn, in his appeal to pay this asshat, says at the very beginning, he's a Roman Catholic and he has 8 kids, and therefore you should give him money. Really? That's the reason you should give him money. This is a whole other topic that maybe we don't want to get into here. But Flinny's been going bananas on the Christo-fascism shit and on pushing this very, very extreme Christo-fascist stuff. And by the way, it turns out that Alina Habba, Trump's lawyer, is the daughter of the Chancellor of the U.S. Knights of Malta, which is not a small thing at all. I will talk about that at some other point. But we're looking at it. It's all right there in front of us. It's all the same network it's always fucking been.
Yeah.
And but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, we're just connecting dots over and over and over again.
No, we're not connecting dots. No
President.
Hold on, I gotta point out something because somebody said that Knights of Malta weren't a real thing and blah blah blah, and I would just like to remind everyone that during Phyllis Schlafly's funeral, where Trump gave a eulogy, she's got a Knight of Malta flag on her freaking coffin. Like,
you can't do the Order of Malta in little tiny bits. Yes, Phyllis Schlafly, who by the way was Mike Flynn's mom's best friend in the anti-abortion movement, was a Dame of Malta, was a female Knight of Malta, and acted that way. So the people in this Christo-fascist organization are warriors. That's the whole point. They see themselves as warriors still fighting the Crusades. The Crusades being the crusade to make white Anglo-Saxons, dominating, all of Europe, certainly, and the world. And they're still fighting that shit. And so, it's an important topic that we probably shouldn't get into.
Yeah,
we should probably do like a podcast on it.
Yeah, you guys should actually for Mind War. I'm something that I wrote about President Biden saying how it'd be nice to see more written about him, a good and decent man. And it's interesting to look at the vitriol that I'm getting from, baby bot accounts. And it's just like, man, the mind war is real, yo. Speaking of the mind war and what we sometimes call the invisible war, I would like to actually take our viewers to Ukraine to see what things look like on the ground. This first clip I'd like to show, if you have it, Hi-Fi, was from a report that Zarina did from the place that she was staying at in Kherson.
This is my house. These are 2 windows. And this is the kitchen over here. And this is where I was at that time. And so it hit the house right behind us.
So, civilian homes being bombed in Kherson, once a town of 300,000, now just very few remain. Zarina is one of two reporters, along with award-winning war correspondent Paul Conroy, an incredible photographer and videographer. Um, and here she describes that clip. Do you have the first clip, Zarina 1?
And just a few hours after we had a meeting in front of the house, we interviewed several people from this neighborhood and went to interview more people. Meanwhile, there was information passed on, as we later found out, about us working in the city of Kherson. And the Russians, who are located just anywhere from 5 to 10 kilometers and further on across the river, hit the site. And this is what you've seen. Fortunately, there was no one in the house that was destroyed. The neighbors had their windows damaged, the walls damaged. Fortunately, the neighbors were okay. They might have not been okay. And right after that, we moved places and we were in a different place. And as I was working on a podcast that I'm doing right now for Malcontent News and doing an interview with my American Polish colleague, we were hit again. So the windows were broken. And that's when we realized that we're being hunted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being hunted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, how much more do people need? I mean, have people seen what happened today? I mean, Russia bombed a hospital. Just
in Kherson, yes.
like, yeah, that's a hospital. It's not a military target. I don't. Yeah. What the fuck? Like, what do we need? How many bodies must we have?
Let's see the last clip from Zarina, if you have it. For going on 2 years. And again, I know you never make it about you. You always say you're doing your job, but it's the people. But, you know, as somebody who knows you, watched, you know, just your grace when you were here, and then watched how you could not wait to get back to Ukraine. I mean, it still just blows my mind.
Well, we're all, thank you, but we all do our jobs. You guys are fighting there, which is equally important because it's information warfare. And I know that you, all three of you, spend endless nights, sleepless nights, fighting the same enemy, fighting the information warfare, for which I'm very, very grateful. And at times, I can tell you, Heidi, it might be easier to confront something physical than the invisible enemy, because here at least it's very clear. The evil is very obvious. You cannot argue with it. It's into your face. It kills the civilians. It's very hard to be, or impossible to be, on their side. You fight in the fight. I know, I've been into your shoes. I know how difficult what all three of you are doing. There's an invisible enemy sipping into your thoughts, trying to twist every word. And in some ways it's harder. So thank you for doing that.
I mean, that, first of all, was an incredibly generous thing to say, given where she is. You know, but she's also, I mean, she's also spot on. And it's something I've said before, and part of the reason why I'm, you know, why I do spend a lot of those nights is because we're literally fighting the same war that they are.
Yeah.
It's the same group of sociopaths that are enabling Putin to do what he's doing, and that are, you know, assaulting us through narrative, information, psychological, whatever kind of warfare you want to call it, non-kinetic war. but something that Zarina constantly tries to remind us, and she needs to. The kinetic war comes after the psychological war, right? I mean, they're, psyops are typically for preparing a battlefield, right? They're trying to do it without weapons, etc. By infiltrating the military, right? That's what all of that's about. At any rate, we need to stop being so thinking that we're so fucking protected. It wasn't. It was 80 years ago now that it took bombing Pearl Harbor and murdering 3,000 American soldiers before we finally decided to step up, right? And the part of the reason why it took that long is because FDR was fighting a bunch of people who wanted peace. They wanted peace. They said, "Oh, Hitler hasn't attacked us." I mean, you see this. I post the signs and stuff all the time because I think it's really important. And they always say, "America first. America first. No, none of our sons for Hitler." Like, right? All of this shit. And in the meantime, there are millions and millions of Jews and other people being murdered, systematically in Europe, while a bunch of pro-Hitler Nazis on this side of the pond was going, "No, peace, peace, peace," and out of the other side of their mouth, spewing anti-Semitic venom. So we're in the same literal situation again, right? And a bunch of these asshats, and to be very clear, on the right and the left, singing this stupid song about how, oh no, we have to, it's peace, it's a proxy war, blah blah blah. This is the in the cheapest possible way for us to do this, which is simply to help them. No American soldiers died, to my knowledge, in this war. And yeah, I think every American family would like to keep it that way. But if we hem and haw and fuck around and let him win over there, it will turn into World War III, and we will need to send our kids. It's really that clear. And to me, anyone who at this point doesn't understand that, is going to reply to me and say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're a Nazi because you have a Ukraine flag in your bio or whatever." That person is currently in the cult.
Yeah.
You cannot actually look at what's happening. Listen to people like Zarina who are on the fucking ground.
Yeah. Being hunted.
Being hunted. And think that the Nazis are the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have all the feels for Zarina, and like, there's literally bombs going off in our interview. She's like, "Here's the rumble. That's a bomb." I'm like,
you could hear it through the whole interview, and she's just so brave, and she doesn't want me to say that, but she's fucking brave, and so is Paul Conroy, and so is John Sweeney. I've been following her reporting since the very beginning. We wouldn't know who John Sweeney was if it wasn't for Zarina interviewing him in Ukraine. That's how we became friends with John and had him on our show. We wouldn't know who Volodymyr Demchenko is, the filmmaker and soldier in Ukraine, who we had on our show, and he literally changed my perspective of those who tell lies, of those who create unreality by quoting like Aristotle and Dante, an amazing young man. And here I'm looking at Anton Geranchenko's tweet from 12 hours ago, where he is showing Putin lying. Putin lying. I've repeatedly said we did not start the so-called war in Ukraine. On the contrary, we're trying to end it. That man is who Volodymyr is talking about, who deserves to be in the deepest, darkest circle of hell because he's been creating an unreality and forcing people to live in it for 20 plus years. Him and Russian intelligence and the Kremlin, the people that prop him up and who he props up, and however you want to frame it. I know Jim and I had an interesting conversation about that. But there he is lying. And Trump has normalized lying, and Trump has normalized violence and violent rhetoric. And so have his friends. And as Zarina says, and as all of our friends say, we can help Ukraine now, make America stronger by helping Ukraine now, or we can expect more of the violence to come here, which we are already seeing incited by stochastic terrorism. So I just pick a lane, man, pick a lane. You either want democracy or you want to support Vladimir lying ass Putin. I know what lane I picked, so.
I need to play something that we were talking and it came to mind, and it's one of our best. And
the pattern, unfortunately, that seems to underlie a lot of the most enthusiastic Russian propagandists is that they have been dealing with severely damaged personalities and personal failure for most of their lives. In fact, the overlap between the number of Russian propagandists who also turn out to be convicted sex offenders is absolutely startling. There are some deep-seated fundamental personality flaws that actually predispose people to being available to be made use of by Russia. And if you look back at the KGB handbooks for recruiting agents of influence, agents of subversion, or indeed propagandists, then you can see very clearly that Russia understood the misfits make the good targets, the people with a grudge, the people who feel they've been treated unfairly by the world because they've been consistent failures, and therefore seek revenge. And you can see that revenge coming through so strongly in some of the verbal attacks that you hear from the trolls, from the so-called independent journalists, the ones pushing the Russian propaganda lines, because the bile and the vitriol and the hatred that they pour out when they're talking about people who criticize Russia, it's extremely personal, and it's plainly tapping deeply into their own personality defects.
What an evergreen.
Yeah, I know some people who fit this fucking category really well.
Yeah.
I mean, the most vicious, homophobes in history have all been gay, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the people that, ran around when I was, criticizing Sound of Freedom, had like all these little girl
turned out to be
pictures, real weird like shit, and they're like, yeah, pedo, look at my little girl anime. I was like, it's just there's a tendency for people who are embarrassed by their own lack of self-awareness, lash out at others with their own faults. So
interesting. I haven't had a chance to thank you for all of your work and service on crushing the op that was the Sound of Freedom. You crushed that. You don't hear much about it anymore. And guess what? A lot of people who were involved in that were exposed as being child traffickers. What do you think about that? I mean, who knew, right? Jim knew, and Hi-Fi and I knew, and we did everything we could to make people aware of it. And well done, team. Yes, Jim.
No,
yeah.
No, it was, but whatever, man. I don't.
That's the kind of I know, but that's the kind of stuff we're going to continue to see all the time. We're going to be fighting so many battles and so many fronts into 2024. And I just hope people can keep reality around them and keep people close to them. Find ways to keep people close to you who are being psyoped, because they're everywhere. Friends of mine who were solid 5 years ago, like solid, they're drifting. They're just drifting because their minds are being attacked. Their brains are being attacked. They're not even aware of it. It's without their consent. That's the other important thing. Speaking of without their consent, I'm really proud of the American Monster Robert Mercer report that I did, and Hi-Fi really helped and Marty helped me with that, because here's somebody who's had giant hidden footprints. Those are Christopher Wiley's words. And more exposure, please, because everything bad continually goes back to funding from the likes of people like him, and we need more exposure on that. We need to do what Nancy McLean said, and we need deep structural reforms. We need Citizens United to be overturned. We have so much work to do. We can only do it if we hold Congress, if we hold Senate, if we hold the presidency, if our communities, hold, if democracy is to continue, we need to make sure that we are that we win in 2024. What else can I say?
I mean, for me, it's about making sure we get to 2024. And I'll just say again, right now, the thing that needs to happen is pressure. Mm-hmm. Because the problem is that, the other side, all they do is exert pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure all the time on our institutions, on the Justice Department, right? Why do you think feckless bureaucrat Merrick Garland is going back and forth in both sides and everything? Because he's got a bunch of right-wing idiots in Missouri, like, you're being biased, and listening. Right? People who don't have the sort of, I don't know, the central building block to figure out when they're being fucked with, for whatever reason, they need pressure. They need to hear it, because otherwise they're going to squeaky wheel it. They're going to be like, oh, well, he's the squeaky one, so obviously we need to both sides it more with this side. I mean, sadly, that's how bureaucracies work. That's how, law enforcement is a bureaucracy, sadly, and a racist one too often. We need to, all of us, be yelling at these motherfuckers to do shit, to actually arrest people, to start addressing, what the problems are. And we've talked about what those are.
Yeah.
So my only point is, yes, we need to vote. We need to do all those things.
Yeah,
and
all those things.
Short term, we need to put pressure on the media to stop putting their fucking head in the sand about playing with Russia and all of that. Yeah. On the government to actually start bringing accountability and stopping the live criminal transnational network that's currently destroying our country in fucking front of us, right? And on the military, to stop letting these people that are still getting paid by them, both active and retired, from taking actions that intentionally undermine our democracy.
Yes, word. And Hi-Fi, final word. We're already over an hour.
So I'm a systems guy, right? And I build systems, I troubleshoot systems, I fix systems. And I look around at the systems that we live in, and our biggest system we live in is the planet Earth, right? Yeah. And the planet Earth is screaming out alarm bells.
Yeah.
And we're over here fucking around with fascists starting wars, which is just going to lead to more death. the systems of government that we have. Obviously, you know, when America was created as a democracy, the great thing about how it was created was the founding fathers said, we're building a system. We know it's going to need upgrades. You can amend the Constitution.
That's right. We need to upgrade.
Well, it's time for some fucking upgrades.
We need some upgrades.
Because if we don't, there's going to be a system crash like you have never, ever seen.